Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Will, a.k.a. Mr. Darth Tuba. Will, how are you today, sir?
Bright Suns, I am doing well. Actually, Bright Suns sounds like it's a serious thing that you had to contend with.
Yeah. Fortunately, we only have one sun here. I don't know what it would be like today if we had two. 90 degrees Fahrenheit out here where I'm from today. It was pretty brutal.
We're fortunate not to get that too much on the East Coast, but we do get it from time to time. You know, we have to.
Yeah, that's one of the banes of living in the Midwest. Like I told him off air, and I told my wife, living in the Midwest, it's all the heat and humidity of living in Florida, but with 99% less beaches.
Yeah, there you go. So
unless you count Lake Michigan,
Yeah. But look on the bright side. You also get really harsh winters too, right?
I know, right? Yeah.
So there's that.
Who signed me up for this anyway?
Well, anyway. All right.
Well. No, it's fine. It's fine.
So what's on the docket for today? What's our topic?
Well, I thought we would have a little laugh today and look at some of the spoofs, the parodies, and the different things that people have come up with within Star Wars, and just kind of close to Star Wars, that have made us laugh for years and continue to make us laugh today. So
that's exciting because I find you can always use a good laugh. Let's face it, and
it's good not to take yourself so seriously.
Oh, absolutely. That's the. And what do they say? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Like all the sayings as they go. But so there's a lot of different areas.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first one I want to talk about kind of is one of the newer ones, and that is I can't remember the character's name, but it was a Saturday Night Live sketch that they did.
Oh, Matt, the radar technician.
Matt, the radar technician.
Matt flat out sucks. That.
Yes.
One of the things first of all, you got to give it up for Adam Driver.
Oh, yes.
He had an incredibly great sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say that one of the most impressive things about that is behind the scenes, he was wearing the Kylo Ren cowl and mask from the movie for that scene. And the reason I know this is because Tom Spina Designs, he's actually an East Coast guy, he works in the city. He designed and he does a lot of for Lucasfilm. He does a lot of refurbishment of props and stuff. And he does prop replicas and things that he sells in his own businesses, officially licensed things. And they hired him to be the keeper of the Kylo Ren mask. And this was right after Force Awakens came out, so he had to care for it, and then he had to fit Adam Driver in it. So and you think back to Saturday Night Live has done their share of spoofs, and they were probably more well known for their Star Trek spoofs, the original one with John Belushi and Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd. But their sets, their costuming were all very low budget, and then you go to see this one, and they're walking around in movie accurate costumes, and one that's an actual prop from the movie. So it was pretty impressive, I thought.
And it did give us the a meme, which is Adam Driver as Kylo Ren giving the thumbs up.
It was Undercover Boss. That's what it was, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was a spoof. It was a double spoof. It was a spoof on Undercover Boss, and a spoof on Star Wars. Which is,
I love that he gave the card. Sorry, I killed your father. or killed your son or whatever. Saturday Night Live can be very hit or miss, as we both know. And that was a
good one. And they've done other Star Wars stuff. I can't remember who it was.
Who did
the Star Wars song. Star
Oh, that was Bill
Wars.
Murray, the lounge
Nothing.
singer singing Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, more recently there were bits with I can't think of his name. The the actor, I can't think of his name. He's on a lot these days. He's more modern,
Yeah.
and I think it was okay, the actress and whose name is escaping me, that played Jin Urso was yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't
She
think of it.
was the host, and he shows
Mm,
up dressed exactly like Saw Gerrera. I mean, he had the mask, he had everything. I was just impressed. I was like, "What the heck?"
nice.
And they
Nice.
whipped this up, and that wasn't a movie costume. They just whipped that up with spare parts in the course of a
Now, have you
you know.
seen the ones they did of the unknown casting?
Yes. Oh wait,
The
the unknown cast, or you
no
mean
the ones where they were doing
screen
the
test?
audition,
Yeah,
the screen test.
I've seen some
Those are
of it.
hilarious. Those
Yes.
are hilarious.
They are. I got to give. I mean, he's weird. He's had he's had his troubles with with things. But Kevin Spacey's Walter Matthau, and
Yeah.
was hysterical. And they did Barbara. Somebody did Barbara Streisand. One of the guys did.
My favorite one was he just passed away recently too.
Oh.
Um, he did the news a lot, but he did
Oh yeah, Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald as I can't remember
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds as
Yeah.
Han Solo.
And
that is just,
like, what the hell is this all about?
what is this all about?
Well, if you're going to talk about parodies, though, you have to talk about the very first one. Do you know the very first one? The one that came out the same year that the movie came out?
Troopers?
No,
No, it wasn't
Troopers
Troopers.
was the
It wasn't
90s.
Troopers. Oh, that's
This was
right.
in the 70s, maybe 78.
Ooh.
Hardware Wars?
Oh, yes. Hardware
Wars.
You
got to talk about Hardware Wars.
Hardware Wars.
That was the definitively first parody. I mean, maybe Bill Murray singing Star Wars and nothing but Star Wars might have been the first parody, but the first, actual making fun of the movie, but be a love letter to the movie. And I think that was the guy who did it, Ernie Fussilius or Fussilius. I can't think of his name, but he did, like, it was all like, there was some pretty good street cred. They had Paul Frees, the voiceover guy, who's the voice of the Haunted Mansion, and he's done a bunch of stuff for Disney, and he was also the Pillsbury Doughboy. He did the narration. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye. He did the whole thing, and then they had all the different characters. One C-3PO looked like the Tin Man. Chewbacca kind of looked like a Cookie Monster, but he was brown. It was like a Muppet, and oh my god, it's. I can't say it's the most hilarious thing now. I mean, obviously it's a little dated, but when you look at it, you can find it. It's interesting to see what people saw right away as something to make fun of. You know what I mean, and what they felt was something that was worth doing. There it is. Yes, may the farce be with you.
Yes.
Those guys that were all I mean, I think you could find a lot of those actors. I mean, for this little tiny stint, they're actually going around doing like conventions now, and
oh wow.
And there was even a call back to it in Last Jedi, in the scene with the ironing, when you saw the iron come down on the uniforms. You thought it was a ship landing, and when they were going in to get to get the uniforms to pose as First Order, you see this ship looks like a ship landing and all the steam, and then it pans out and it's actually it's like a droid iron. And that was totally a throwback, because they were using irons and hand mixers and all sorts of stuff. And then they came out with a special edition when the Star Wars special edition came out like 20 years later, and they were actually putting like cheap digital, like computer added effects, to kind of make fun of it. It was fantastic. So yeah, Hardware Wars. You gotta give some love.
Gotta go. Yeah. That was good.
So then we go on to, I guess, moving right along. Once we got past the Star Wars, the original movies coming out, I mean, you got to go to the next one that's probably the most famous, which would be Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
We gotta give it up for the amazing genius that is Mel Brooks, and he poked fun at a Western. He poked fun at the horror genre, the classic horror genre. And then he finally said it's time to poke fun at history, like big epic history movies like
Yeah.
Ten Commandments with History of the World. And then he finally said it's time to take on sci-fi. And
Yes.
it was kind of a salute to all sci-fi, but mostly Star Wars.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of oh, yep. There's the poster.
There it is.
Yogurt. We got yogurt. Barf.
Yogurt. even with
strawberries.
I mean,
so many great lines. So many.
Kind of was like Bill Pullman's like first big
role,
right?
Yeah.
And John Candy, Bartholomew.
Bartholomew.
I could quote that.
I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
Oh, and then of course Dot Matrix.
Yes.
Joan Rivers. I mean, so many great. And it was his normal staple. We watched in this household. We grew up huge Mel Brooks fans. Watched all of the movies over and over again, so we can quote everything.
Oh yeah.
But and he always had this team of people like that. Like the minister, at the end, the short version. He'd been a writer. He'd been in a lot of stuff with Mel Brooks. All the bit characters on the side. They were part of his writing team, and they did a lot of bit parts in other movies. So what a fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, you can do a whole show just on Spaceballs.
Now, interestingly enough, he went to George Lucas on that, and he wanted permission.
Yeah.
He did have, Mel Brooks, when he made fun of something, that was the most for Mel. If you were making a movie and Mel Brooks wanted to come and make fun of your movie, that was the greatest compliment you could ever get, because he showed that much respect, and he would never do it unless you gave him permission.
Yeah.
Like he got Alfred Hitchcock's permission before he did High Anxiety, which is a total tribute to all the Alfred Hitchcock films. And when it came to Star Wars, he went to George Lucas, and George Lucas said, absolutely, I'd love you to do it. Just one condition. You can't market it with toys. And that is why, to this day, you do not have any Spaceballs toys. Now, with Disney taking over, maybe that's something that they'll loosen up with. But
yeah,
I have found some people have done 3D printing. I did find a little Dark Helmet action figure that somebody 3D printed and painted. So
nice.
I did pick that up. But I'd love to have a set of the main characters.
And of course, I'm still waiting with bated breath for Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money.
Now, they did do a cartoon.
They did. Okay.
They did do an animated series. In fact, I remember going to Celebration one year, and there were people passing out cards, like coming soon. And Mel Brooks was involved. He came back and he did. He provided the voice of the same, Yogurt and President Scrooge. And I watched it for a little bit. It just didn't. It
didn't have the same. Yeah.
I don't know whether it was. I can't even tell you why. For one thing, I think it's hard to do a series, man. That's a lot of. He was pulling stuff from Lord of the Rings and from Ghostbusters and from all sorts of stuff, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't that funny, And I'm glad they made the attempt, but I'm really hoping that they do eventually. I heard they were going to do another one, call it The Shorts Awakens.
Oh,
but I don't know if that'll ever come to pass. We'll see.
Yeah.
But hey, if it does, I will be the first one in the theater. I will be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Spaceballs, that ship opening.
Oh, with it just keep going and going and going.
Now, kids, remember something here, okay? Kids listening or people, there was no CGI back then, okay? This was all done practically. So there's a ship that they were making fun of, the whole like Star Destroyer crossing overhead, and they just kind of went from left, panning from right to left. And oh my goodness, this ship went on forever. It was the joke. They kept the music would swell up a little bit, like as if it was coming to the end of the ship, and then it would go back down, and the ship would keep going, and it would keep going, and it would keep going, and it was one of those things where it was funny. You started to laugh, then you stopped laughing because you're like, oh my god, this is going on forever, and then it started getting funny again because because it just was like that. I think Seth MacFarlane, which we'll talk about him in a little bit later. But I think he kind of adopted all of that with his brand of comedy. So, yes, Spaceballs, best one.
Definitely.
By far.
Now, moving on, we have something now. Unless there was one that was between Spaceballs and Troopers, because I don't know if there was.
Not one that I remember. I mean, there's been a lot of. I mean, we've talked about Star Wars and pop culture. There's been pop culture references, like we can talk about Friends, the famous scene where, what's her name comes out. Jennifer Aniston's character dressed with the, which I never liked because she comes out with the bikini from the slave girl bikini from Jabba the Hutt's palace, but she has the
buns.
The buns. I mean, not that I don't like it. I just it's like, like, hey, that's not correct.
That's not canon.
The nerd not canon. Be like, no, you've got it.
Nerd rage, engage.
There were like little moments like that in other sitcoms, but nothing,
nothing big. Well, and I think Troopers was the first one that was a direct parody, as in this is taking place inside the Star Wars universe. Everything so far, the ones we've talked about have been either indirectly or somehow. This is the first one where it's supposed to be set within the Star Wars universe and answering and talking about stuff that Star Wars nerds would be interested in. Like, okay, what happened with those, with the troopers that were sent down there? And doing it like a Cops, like the show Cops. For those of us who grew up in the 90s, we all remember Cops.
Bad boys.
Yes.
What you gonna do?
And that whole scene at the Lars homestead was just.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If you don't be quiet now, I'm gonna shoot you. They all had the Chicago accent. I mean, yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Yes.
I will want to talk about. We do have to talk. It's not really a visual parody. It's more of a musical parody. You got to talk about Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
Right? In that around, there was something that came out. I thought about it. Yoda, Yoda, Yoda. You're looking at me funny. Have you not heard of that?
I have.
Okay.
I'm more familiar with.
Met him in the swamp down in Dagobah, where it bubbles all the time like a giant carbonated soda. SODA. So okay, you got to go and look at it, listen to it.
Okay.
Yes, it was the first musical parody of Star Wars. Really?
Wow.
Yes, and it came out in 1980 or maybe a little later in the 80s, and it was fun, fantastic. Nice. I mean, the words at the end. The long-term contract I got to sign says I'll be making these movies till the end of time with my Yoda. I mean, it was very prophetic.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking about Weird Al and Star Wars. It's the saga begins.
The saga begins. Yeah. Long time ago.
Basically telling the entire movie.
It practically wrote itself when it first came out. A long time ago, in a galaxy far away. I actually sang that.
Oh,
I sang that at my church. And everybody looked at me like, "What are you doing? You're messing with a classic." And I said, "No, I am improving a classic." Guy. Thank you, Mar. Thank you very much.
This here, yeah.
No, that's awesome. That
maybe Vader awesome. Someday later. Now he's just a small fry.
And.
Left
his home and kissed his mommy goodbye. Staying soon. I'm gonna be a Jedi. Now, have you ever heard of George Lucas in Love?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I've heard it or seen it.
It's a short film.
Okay.
And it came out around the same time. It was actually parodying both Star Wars and Shakespeare in Love. I don't know if you've ever seen Shakespeare in Love, but I mean, essentially, it just kind of, I don't want to talk about Shakespeare in Love. Let's talk about George Lucas in Love. George Lucas in Love basically it's him in college. It's George Lucas, a young George Lucas in college, and he's walking around campus, and he's like, it shows like the things going on around him that are kind of getting him inspiring him to write Star Wars. Like there are all these college guys walking around that are, one guy's really tall and he always wears gold, and another one's really short and kind of whistles all the time. And it's just him getting inspired, like all these people. Because first he's going to write he's talking about his new student film, which is like, it's obviously THX 1138, but he had another name for it. It was like, 1474R BB 217. Like that was the name of his film. And he was going to go show it to his professor, and he's going across or whatever. And he meets this girl, and the girl has the buns, and he's like, you see her like kind of getting all smitten with her. And, they just see all these different characters all walking around that look like the characters from Star Wars. And it just kind of, and he starts to write it out, and he's all excited about it. And then that's kind of how the movie, it's short. It only lasts like 10 minutes, but the best is the end credit scene, after he starts to write, like, I think I've got it. I've got this movie. And he sees him starting to write, and the girl's in there with him, and they're hugging. And then like at the end of the movie, after the credits, I think the knock at the door, and there's like the mom walks in, and he's like, "Oh my God, you two met?" And they're looking at each other because they're dating, George and this girl. And it's like, you don't understand your brother and sister. And I was like, oh, well played. Well played.
Now, there's one I've seen with George Lucas, and I believe it actually is George Lucas, where they're at Skywalker Ranch, and I don't know if it has to be set, just the way it's set up, you can tell it was set up, where there are the writing team, and someone mentions Mara Jade, and Lucas just goes bonkers, like, Mara Jade, oh, who cares about Mara Jade? Just like
I've seen it, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's been so much parody that it's impossible to keep up with all of it. They used to be if you go to like you used to go to when you go to Comic-Cons and things like that, they still have them. There's always like that one booth, even if it's a small con. There's usually one booth with tons and tons of bootleg videos, or nowadays bootleg DVDs, and it's amazing what people have there. It's so much fun, because I remember I got a tape. It wasn't even a DVD; it was a tape. It was an actual video cassette, and it was called Star Wars Rarities, and it was basically just all these appearances of the characters on different shows. Like, here's another one. Did you know that the Star Wars characters appeared on Donnie and Marie? Do you even know who Donnie and Marie is?
Yes, I do know who Donnie and Marie is.
All right. I know
I
you're
am that old.
You're not that much younger than me, but Donnie, so one of their specials, they did a whole Star Wars parody, and I know that C-3PO and R2 and Chewbacca and Peter Mayhew, Anthony Dan, they were all in it, but it was like, Marie Osmond was playing Leia, Donnie Osmond was playing Luke. There's foreshadowing for you. And then Chris Christopherson was there playing Han Solo. Paul Lynn was playing like an Imperial officer. And then they had dancing stormtroopers. It was just nuts. It was the 70s, man, and it was crazy. So, all right. So I guess, and we can bop around. I'm just kind of looking around.
Well, since you already mentioned Donnie Osmond.
Oh, Donnie Osmond. Okay.
I have something along the same vein of the same type of show.
Okay.
Star Wars Muppets.
Oh, wow. Star Wars Muppets.
Star Wars and the Muppets.
Who's your tailor? I love that outfit. That was, oh my God. Now, I gotta say, Chewbacca looks a little weird. He doesn't have his bandolier. Feels naked.
Yeah.
But I guess they didn't want to have a weapon. Oh no, I think it got lost. Yeah, that's what it was. All this time I thought the bandolier, they didn't want to have it because it looked like a weapon, and they just didn't want to have it.
Because I was thinking that when you said that, I was like, Luke has his blaster with him. So
yeah, no, you're right. It got lost. It got lost at the airport. Can you imagine that? Like these days, you're talking about holy grails. Chewbacca's bandolier.
Oh yeah,
it got lost. So apparently, I guess it got turned up somewhere. But yes, and that was a.
And I almost mentioned Pigs in Space, but that was more of a parody of Star Trek.
Oh well, yeah.
A great one. Pigs
Oh yeah.
in
Space.
space.
This was fantastic. With little Gonzo as Durf
Darth
Nader. The
Nader.
world will never know.
No.
And then, but that came out a few weeks before Empire Strikes Back, and we get a great image of Mark Hamill sporting his brand new Bespin fatigues, as they call it in the action figure world. And I was a kid. I was like, man, this is awesome. Oh, I love this. When does he wear this? And then I see previews for Empire Strikes Back. I'm like, aha, that's where he wears it. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's just, and then kind of clever, like, it's one of the few times that, the Star Wars universe exists in our universe. Think about that. It doesn't usually happen. So
now, one thing I want to talk about before we move on is, are you familiar with the characters Tag and Bink?
They're comic book characters, correct?
They are comic book characters. It's definitely in the spoof parody. I'd say more spoof, because they're stormtroopers.
Yeah, they're stormtroopers, and they find themselves going all through the trilogy, right?
Yeah, like they're the ones that are manning the turbo laser blasters at the beginning of episode 4 and decide not to shoot. They're always in one little area, like in the throne room. They're the two Imperial
guards, and when they say guards leave us, they walk around the back and they're like, "Oh wait, there's not an elevator back here. What do we do? I guess we just stand here." No, I know that was fun, and I think
and I love that. I love that type of thing of just having these basically almost normal people, like just average Joes in these abnormal situations, and just being stuck there and being the reasons everything goes wrong.
Well, I love how taking that idea and tying it into Blue Harvest, or Family Guy, the Family Guy Star Wars spoofs, and oh my God, I mean, it was like, hold your fire. There's no life forms. Hold your fire. What are we being paid by the What are you paying by the laser now? Or the two guards on the edge after the Death Star.
No, was that Blue Harvest, or was that
Oh no, it's Blue Harvest.
That was Blue Harvest.
I mean, there's Blue Harvest. There's something Dark Side.
Something Dark Side.
And the third one is escaping me, and I can't remember. But it was basically just the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And but oh my God, the one with the two guys after the Death Star destroys Alderaan, the two guys that are there on the end, they said, "Forget healthcare. I just want a railing." And you know what they said? We said they wouldn't do it. They said we'd be leaning all day. Well, none of this will matter when we're famous singers. I'm like, the randomness is or my favorite, and you'll know why, when Luke is looking off on the twin sons, and then you hear the music, and he goes, John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra, everybody. And then he's there conducting. And the thing I love about it is that, Seth MacFarlane is a gifted musician, and he's literally got John Williams conducting to the music. So it's not even like random. And then later, when the Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are dead in skulls, John Williams, and the whole orchestra is there in skeleton form. Great. Now we got to do the rest of this movie with Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
I mean, for my profession and my job, that was a fall over the fall.
Oh, and of course, I don't believe it was any of the Blue Harvest ones. I believe it was just a regular Family Guy episode. But so do we take a request? Play the same song again.
No, that was in there. That was. Play the same song. Same song. Here we go. Yep. Oh yeah. No, there were so many. Oh my God, the couch. Somebody threw out this couch, and it's in great shape. I'm taking it. I'm taking this couch. Oh my! You know what and it's really funny. And I got to tell you, that if you ever get a chance, I don't know how you can find it, but if you can find when they showed like a 3 or 4 minute preview of that at Celebration, showing that in a theater with thousands of people that are all Star Wars fans. I mean, it was only like 4 or 5 minutes of the special, but they were just to hear everybody react and how the way they react when Stewie walked in dressed as Vader. It was just crazy. So
of course we also have in that same vein, like I already mentioned, the Robot Chicken's Christmas Star Wars.
Well, it's funny because they even joked at the end of it, like that they were kind of making fun of it, like each other, like because
both are very
Seth MacFarlane is obviously the one responsible for Family Guy. Seth Green,
who is on Family Guy,
is responsible partially anyway. And they each wrote voice on the other show.
Exactly.
Now the Robot Chicken one, to me, that's the most famous. Didn't come. They have specials, right? They have like full out Robot Chicken specials, but they've done a lot of standalone ones. You got to talk it up with the Emperor.
Oh yes.
What the heck is it?
Aluminum Falcon. My favorite one is the one where he's talking to Vader and saying, I just remember we had these thing called younglings. Maybe we could train them in the dark side, turn them into. Wait, you did what? Oh boy.
Oh my God! Now get your asthmatic butt back here before I tell it. Panda Baba or Panda Bear or whatever.
Yeah. Wait.
Whatever the heck her name. Oh,
and then ending with the. I love you too.
I love you too.
I love you too.
Yeah, they put that on there, but oh my God, our Boba Fett too.
Yeah. Him falling down the shaft and suddenly having the change of conscious.
And I'll tell you something else right now. Robot Chicken is responsible for why every time everybody sees Admiral Akbar, they go, "It's a trap!
It's a trap!"
Because the guy who did that on Robot Chicken is far more the way people make fun of it. They don't, the way Admiral Akbar says it in the movie is more like "It's a trap," But the way he says it on Robot Chicken, "It's a trap!
It's a trap! It's a trap!
It's a trap!" So yeah, phenomenal stuff. So.
Yeah, it's just so
there. And now I will say this to those, if there's any younger viewers or parents of younger viewers, or actually listeners and/or viewers, keep in mind that Robot Chicken and Family Guy are more PG-13, leaning towards R-rated.
Oh, we forgot one thing. One of the other characters from the Robot Chicken one, and I can't remember, the most useless stormtrooper of all time. They have one thing where the first one he's in is he's sitting there and one of the Death Star controllers has to go to the bathroom, so he has the stormtrooper to take over for him, and he sends it hurtling into space and almost runs into a planet.
I don't know that one.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's really good.
Jumping back to the Muppets for a minute, there have been a few parodies with Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the one we're more familiar with is when R2-D2 and 3PO were on, and they were and that was back in the 70s. So probably still too old for us to watch it as kids. I just remember seeing it. It happened to be on, and I look and I see 3PO walking around Sesame Street. I stop and look. What is this? But apparently he was. I don't know how they got there, what they were doing there. All I remembered is that R2-D2 was like in love with a fire hydrant or something, or a mailbox, something. He fell in love with a mailbox or something like that. So, and 3PO was calming him down. But that was one. Are you trying to find it? Are you trying to put it up?
Just looking at what they have here, seeing if they're different Star Wars parodies. See what I can find.
Am I allowed to share on this? If I hit share,
I think so. You should be able to. You can see if you can.
All right, I'm gonna try something. Hold on. Yeah. So there was that one. Sorry. Images here. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Oh, I don't want. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That wasn't good. All right, hold on. Okay. No, I don't want to do it because I'll play around with that next time. But there was another one that actually was more recent, and it was Cookie Monster cast as Han Solo rescuing Princess Parfaya or Leia. But it keeps getting derailed because Chewbacca is being portrayed by a sentient cookie who Cookie Monster keeps wanting to eat. So you can probably find that on YouTube.
That's good.
It's clever.
Good.
It's clever.
Yeah.
So, and all right. So I'm trying to think of. So, yeah, we kind of covered a lot.
We have.
We talked about the Weird Al Yankovic. We talked about trying to think of any notable appearances in other shows or sitcoms like the Muppets and things like that. But yeah, I mean, there's just been so many. I mean, but it is kind of. I think we've kind of covered most of the main ones. Have you ever heard of Thumb Wars?
I have heard of Thumb Wars.
I never really seen that.
I haven't either. Yeah, so, it's.
I don't want to mention.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's, numerous famous memes people have come up, many of who came from a lot of these parodies.
Now we should talk about. Donald Faison was voiced one of the stormtroopers on Robot Chicken. Like Take Your Daughter to Work Day. Did you ever see that one?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I did see that one. Oh,
that was voiced by
Donald.
That's why I don't take my daughter to Jack Beep. All right. No, the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I had it. Oh, shoot. I had it, and I was talking about Donald Faison, and I lost it.
Well, let's talk about humor.
Wait,
go ahead.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, first of all, there's. Have you ever heard of Star Wars Detours?
Yes, I have.
Yes, unfortunately, we haven't seen it because they haven't released it, and I don't think they're going to. And I mentioned this on a previous episode, but one thing that is very interesting about the Disney acquisition, when we talked about the Disney acquisition of Star Wars and Lucasfilm, is that there is a very different way that Disney handled the Star Wars brand, because Disney and Star Wars have been in cahoots together for decades, ever since Star Tours came out in 1987. So there's been a lot of relationship between Disney and Star Wars, and for many, many years they had this thing. This is prior to the purchase of the Star Wars brand in Lucasfilm. They had a thing called Star Wars Weekends. And Star Wars Weekends was a weekly thing in the parks in Disney World in Florida. And they would have a whole, bunch of guests, that would be each weekend. They'd have different guests, different celebrities, and they would have autograph signings and panels. It was kind of like a mini convention, but it was taking place in the theme park. So there was rides and other things to do. And there was a lot of parody going on. There was a ton. Disney had a very different attitude about it. I mentioned there was a lot of there were costume characters, like Mickey dressed up as Jedi Luke. I think Goofy was dressed up as Vader. Donald was dressed up as a stormtrooper. Minnie was dressed up as Leia. Chip and Dale were Ewoks. Pluto, I can't remember what Pluto was, but doesn't
anybody know what Pluto is? No.
Well, I know he's a dog. I just don't.
No, that's Goofy. No, yeah,
they're both dogs, but one of them apparently has enough sense to talk.
No,
and the other
Goofy I believe Goofy is a cow. I believe.
No, he's a dog.
He's a dog. I thought he was a cow because he's in
love
with
definitely
Clarabelle.
A dog.
He's in love with Clarabelle.
No, you're thinking of Horace Horsecollar.
No.
Or that might even be. I don't even think he's a cow. I think he's a horse. But anyway, so they being that they all dressed up like them and played Star Wars, they were cosplaying. So I don't know if that would be a parody, but they had like Star Wars dance-offs where all the characters were out there doing like modern day hip hop dances. They were good, but it was like definitely parody,
Yeah.
So that was it. So Disney had a big, and you could buy the figures. I mean, I got to own at least 50 figures of different Disney characters dressed as Star Wars characters. Different Muppet characters. They did it too, dressed as Star Wars characters. So there was a lot of loosey-goosiness when it came to that. But then Disney bought Star Wars, and it all stopped almost to the day while the ink was drying, and you couldn't do it anymore. You never see Luke I'm sorry, you never see Luke dressed as Mickey. You never see Mickey dressed as Luke. You never see Goofy dressed as Vader anymore. You don't see any of that. You see Star Wars treated with a lot more reverence.
Yeah.
And then they also have, of course, Galaxy's Edge, which is it's a story that you're in. So there's really no parody there. But I guess you could say, though, if you want to talk about Star Tours, there is a little bit of fun, poking fun there with 3PO piloting, accidentally having to pilot the ship, and the different other characters that are in there, and there's a droid looking for a rebel spy, and it can be a little bit in the antics that you get into as the people on board the Star Tours ship that's trying just to get you to Endor, and it ends up all over the place. It's really, really fun. So I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I would definitely call that a type of parody.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, and it's not in the parody or the spoof, but just general humor within Star Wars itself. Because there is a ton from the very first movie. You mentioned, the relationship between C-3PO and R2-D2. I mean, so much comedy there.
You're nearsighted scrap pile.
And the humor is, I don't even know how to describe it, because you have, scenes like, it's not my fault. It's not my fault.
I know. I think something that the original trilogy had and the sequel trilogy had, that I think the prequel trilogy was a little bit lax in.
Yeah.
They did, and I'm not saying it wasn't funny. There were funny moments in it, but it was a different type of humor. But in the first original trilogy, with characters particularly like Han Solo, Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian, I mean, you're dealing with like an everyman reaction.
Yeah. It was more, I wouldn't necessarily say subtle, but it wasn't over the top. Like, I feel like, especially with the character of Jar Jar, you had very over the top humor.
Right.
Like, you knew exactly what that character was for. Oh, here's the comic relief. Front and center, whether you love Jar Jar, hate Jar Jar, indifferent to Jar Jar, that's what Jar Jar was there for.
But some of the funniest, like, quirky stuff that came out of the prequels came from Obi-Wan. And I think that part of the reason why everybody loves that came out to be the star of that trilogy is because of the way he kind of handled himself.
Yeah, and it was in the vein of like not necessarily, I don't even know, like you said, almost every man reaction, but I see we brought another pathetic life form on board.
Or, you want to buy some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. Like, he's not even like looking at him. He's just let me have my drink.
This in the sequel trilogy, you have
Poe
and Finn. Poe and Finn. Now who starts first? Do I start first?
Yeah,
do you talk first. How does this work out?
I mean, I knew from that moment that I was going to love that movie. That I was going to love anything that had Poe Dameron in it, because
and him saying, I have a call for in the second one.
General Hugs. Do you ever watch it with the closed caption? It's actually he says he calls him General Hugs. Huggs. Hugs. Because it says Hugs, and then it'll say Hux. Like, at first I thought it was an error by the prompter, but no, it was Hugs, and then when Hux spoke, it would say Hux.
Oh,
I said, oh, that's even better.
Even the TV shows have had little bits of humor here and there.
Oh yeah. Oh, my God.
I mean, the scene that made the most infamous troopers of all time with the baby Yoda in the sack where they're talking.
Oh my God.
Oh.
No, see, yeah, I don't question orders. Stop it.
Stop it.
I'm good with that.
And the rumor was, for a while, some people were wondering if that was Tag and Bink.
Oh, well.
That was the whole thing.
I would be shocked if Tag and Bink don't find their way into something if they haven't already, and we just didn't know it.
No, yeah.
So, there, I do think I think with the expansion of streaming service, where instead of having a 2-hour movie, you can now have a 6 or 7 hour time frame to tell a story. I think you can have. Well, look at Pele. What's her name? Pella? Is it Pella from the mechanic from Mos Eisley.
Oh, Pelly.
Sorry, I'll learn her name. But she dated a
Pelly
Java. I dated a Java once. They're quite
Yes, yeah. That was one of those scenes that everyone was just like.
we stopped it and rewound it and watched. Did she
our brains were just going like, how does that work?
Thank the force. I mean, she just was a breath of fresh, breath of fresh air because she was just so much fun. And from Boba Fett, the 1,000 Pardons, he's on a scheduled vacation or whatever, the Twi'lek Major Domo. He was fantastic. I want a series with the two of them because they were like kind of together there at the end. I'm like, oh, please give us a one-off. Give us even just a short with the two of them getting together. So there's been a lot of fun, and of course we had the Jawas, with their little furry egg. They were just Some of the humor were just like, what?
Well, even that scene where he was attacking trying to get the sandcrawler.
Oh my God!
Even that was hilarious. I was laughing at that. Throwing stuff at him.
No, it was fun, and yeah. So there is always, the biggest thing, and so many people. I mean, I've seen so many people complain about it, and I just think, guys, the day that Star Wars doesn't have humor is the day that it's not Star Wars. It's something else.
Mm-hmm.
It needs that humor. It needs to be able to take itself not quite too seriously. You can be serious, but just look at Babu Frick. There's another one.
Yeah. I'd rather kiss a Wookiee.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it's okay. I mean, anyway, so we're at a point now where with so much Star Wars out there, I mean, there's been cute stuff too. And I really wouldn't call it parody, but all the stuff on, if you look on Star Wars Kids, they have like all the Galaxy of Heroes, but like the BB-8 rolling along, or there's this new thing with little creatures. It's definitely more for younger kids, but it's got a cutesiness to it that is kind of adorable. So kind of fun. So all right. So I think that'll pretty much wrap it up.
Yeah,
I think that's a good place to end it. So
all right. Well, Will, why don't you tell the people out there where they can find you at?
I am living on YouTube, my friends, with a Darth Tuba Star Wars unboxing show, which you can just find if you just do a search for Darth Tuba. And you can find all sorts of episodes about different types of unboxings. These days, us collectors have to do a lot of stuff with online. So online pre-orders are crazy. I am up to, I think I counted 70 online pre-orders, which is now that's over the course of the last year and a half. And they're still waiting on some of them. So it's just crazy between pandemic and supply chain and shipping issues and everything else. But they do trickle in. And if you like to see these toys get unboxed and do some toy reviews, that's a good place to go. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing page on Facebook. And you can email me at darthtuba77@gmail.com.
All right. Well, as for us, if you want to get a hold of us, the best way to do it is through our email, warofthestars1@gmail.com. That is one of the best ways. The other way you can get a hold of us is through our Twitter account at warofthestars1. Check us out there. We do a lot there. Or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And now we actually have as of today, a TikTok. Haven't put much of anything on there, but I might do. Yeah. Yes.
No.
But it is there, so check those out in the near future. We are, of course, a proud member of the Red 5 Network. Red 5, check us out. Check all the shows out on the Red 5 Network. A lot of good shows on there, a lot of good people. Check those out. Of course, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/War of the Stars. Or even better, you can go to spreadshirt.com/shop/war-of-the-stars of the -stars-.
We gotta get a shorter.
I do. Yeah, I don't know how to change that or what to do with that. But that's a different topic for all that stuff. So yeah, that will do it for this week. As always, remember, this isn't just my Star Wars. This isn't just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next week, may the Schwartz be with you.
Till the spire, everyone.